Welcome in, everybody, to the Casual Sports Report. I'm Matt Morrison here with Mike Wolfgang today. We're doing it a little different today. Alec taking a little break today, and we're just figuring out different situations as well. Right, Mike?
Yeah, me and you going solo today, Matt.
Yeah.
We got to hold the fort.
Yeah, we have to hold this fort down. Just before we go into anything, I want to do the question of the day from yesterday. You kind of do Alex's routine a little bit here. So, which runner had the most yards rushing in a game to lead the 2000 season? Okay, your options were Arian Foster, Marshawn Lynch, DeMarco Murray, Ray Rice, and Michael Turner. And if you guessed DeMarco Murray, you're right. So that's your boy, Mike. You like that?
That's my boy.
Murray. Oh yeah,
he had some great days with the Cowboys.
He did.
I missed him when he left, but he was awesome.
Yeah. All right. Now this is the question for today. Which Indiana multi-threat QB had more than 200 yards both passing and running in a 2000 game? Your options are Trent Green, Gibran Hamdan, Antoine Randall, and Nate Sudfeld. Leave your answers in the comments or come back tomorrow and find out to see if you got the answer right. So without further ado here, let's get right into it. Mike, let's start out with some Monday Night Football, all right?
You ready to jump in?
Game? Yeah, let's jump right in. The Saints-Seahawks. Nail biter, Saints winning, 13-10. Of course, Seattle without Geno Smith and, Carson, the running back. Mike, what do you got here?
Well, so last night, it's obviously 3 straight losses versus the Seahawks. The 3 games they haven't had Russell Wilson, they've lost all of them, which you don't want to see. But they're 0-3.
Big impact.
Big impact. And they're 0-3 to start the season at home this year. That hasn't happened for them in 30 years. So they're in unfamiliar territory. And they're learning life without Russell Wilson's tough. They've struggled to find big plays when they have to. The 3 straight games they've had Geno Smith starting, they've turned it over late in games when they had a chance to win them. Against the Steelers, they had that fumble in overtime. Last night they had, there was times last night when they were in field goal range and they got pushed back out of field goal range. The weather was kind of iffy last night with some rain and some wind, so that didn't help them in the kicking game. But Seattle's got to find something. They're fading out of this race fast, and we'll see what Geno can do.
We'll see. Geno Smith, not too bad, 167 yards. Passing 1 touchdown. He was sacked 5 times though. And then on your running game, Alex Collins, 16 carries, 35 yards, and you have Homer, 1 carry, 14 yards. I think they need to give him more carries. That guy shows some speed. Here and there. I think they need to give him a little bit more opportunities, split it more with Collins and Homer. Give Geno Smith a little break, being stacked 5 times. The offensive line is, a little rusty, not quite the best offensive line. I think they need to get that ball off quick, either have Smith run more or, get it off to those, running backs. I really think so.
Yeah, and like you said, Matt, Geno didn't play terrible. 12 of 22, that's above 50%, so I guess you'll take it. 167 yards passing. He only had one touchdown, no interceptions, which is good. He didn't turn it over. But, what got them back in the game against the Steelers was the running game. And with Collins last night, he had 16 carries, 35 yards. You got to get more out of 16 carries. And they threw the ball around. DK Metcalf had 2 receptions for 96 yards, but you probably got to get him the ball more. He's the playmaker on this offense now with the running backs out, and you got Russell Wilson out. So
yeah, absolutely. And he's been down all year, and this is definitely one of his best games of the year. Close to 100 yards receiving. That 1 touchdown. I think he had that 84-yard touchdown. Big run. And then but then you see Metcalf. He had a great performance, and then you look over at Lockett, who's had a great season so far. He's been their number 1 guy per se. He only had 2 receptions for 12 yards.
And on the Seahawks side, go ahead, man.
He wasn't even second in receiving. Freddie Swain, I think his first name is Freddie Swain, had 4 receptions for 39 yards. So you got to look at, DK Metcalf good getting it to him, and you only threw it to him twice too. But I think you need to get it out to Lockett more. That guy has produced more, and I think you need to get it to him more as well.
Yeah, and even you look at their defense, it's taking some criticism. They didn't. Yeah. They played well last night, 13 points. They did their job, but the offense has to find something here because, the earliest Russell's going to be back is next. 2 to 4 weeks. They're saying. So they're they're playing themselves out of it the way their division is right now. I mean, you got the Cardinals, you got the Rams, you got teams like that. So they gotta find something here if they want to stay in it. I mean,
They do.
It's obviously not enough on offense so far, and their defense didn't play bad against Steelers at all. So the last few weeks, their defense has held up for how much we've criticized it, but they got to find something.
They really do. And before we go on the New Orleans side, they did pick up. We talked about this yesterday a little bit. They did pick up Jacob Easton, another quarterback. They picked him up from the Colts. If you have to throw him in there, if Smith just isn't cutting it, and I think you got to give Smith a little more time. The guy hasn't started in 4 years, and all of a sudden you got to throw him in there. And, he's a little older. I think you got to give him this, seniority a little bit more than maybe give it to Easton. But
yeah, definitely.
But now going on the New Orleans side, Jameis Winston, 19 of 35, 222 yards. That's the performance you expect from Winston like that. He's not the Tom Brady, but he's not like quarterbacks, like Joe Flacco.
Yeah, he does enough.
He's decent. He's a decent quarterback. And then of course you have Alvin Kamara, 20 carries, 50 yards though, no touchdowns. I think you need to see a little bit more from Alvin Kamara. Yeah, 20 carries, you get 50 yards.
I mean, you can't ask really much. I mean, Jameis did fine.
Jameis did fine. I mean, Jameis also carried the ball 8 times for 40 yards. So, I mean, they kind of split the running a little bit more. But Alvin Kamara, one of the top running backs in the game.
Yeah, and the Saints side of things, they improved the record to 4-2. That's a big win for them to try to keep pace in their division as well.
Oh, it is.
And their division's a little less congested, I guess, than the Seahawks side of things. But their defense stepped up. They only allowed 10 points, and like I said, with Smith on the Seahawks side, I mean, they were able to push when they were driving and getting across midfield. They were able to push them back and get them out of field goal range. So that's a big reason why they only allowed 10 points. And like you said, with their offense, they've gotten guys to step up in the passing game this year. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries in it. You look at some of these guys, like, Alvin Kamara had 10 receptions with 128 yards. You'll take that from him. He's one of the best pass catching backs in the league. You got guys like Marquez Callaway and Juwan Johnson, like we talked about. He only had 1 catch for 8 yards, but he's stepped up this year for them.
He has. Juwan Johnson had a big first game, but he's kind of drifted off a little bit after that. I think it'd be. I mean, he is a playmaker. I mean, we've seen it in college too, both with Penn State and Oregon. So he made some, decisive catches for Penn State and Oregon. I think that maybe want to target him a little bit more. I mean, if the guys you're working with aren't quite working, you got to try other people. I mean, Kamara is working. 10 receptions, 128 yards. I mean, like you said, he's a good running back and he's a good receiving back as well. But you got to find other guys like him. You don't have, can't guard Mike's not out there anymore. Well, for now, injured. So you got to find those second-tier guys. You have to get it to them. So,
I mean, Adam Troutman had 3 receptions for 36 yards. They were pretty balanced. Other than Kamara, their reception numbers weren't huge for their receivers, but they were pretty balanced. I mean, he had 3 receptions. Callaway had 3. Traquan Smith had 1. Juwan Johnson had 1. I mean, they were pretty balanced, and that's what they had to do because 20 carries for Alvin Kamara, you expect more than 51 yards, so they had to find something else. I mean, Jameis ran it 8 times for 40 yards. You'll take that from your quarterback, and he's shown that he's able to do that. So in most departments, they were fine, but you'd like to see more than 13 points.
Yes, absolutely. So anything else to add before we move on here?
I mean, obviously, like I said, big win for the Saints. Both teams needed it last night, and obviously the Saints did enough to take it. And the Seahawks, they're in a little bit of trouble right now. They need Russell back, but they're going to have to get used to the next couple weeks without him.
Yeah. Let's take a little week at a glance here for the Seahawks. Next week they got to play the Jaguars. Should be an easy win. Should be, but you never really know. And then, Mike, they got to go in and
to Lambeau.
They got to go in Lambeau and play the Packers, and then they got to play the Cardinals. Yep. So I mean, they have some tough road.
And those are games you wish you had Russell for, and they're not going to get him back till after those games. I mean, you think in the next 3-4-ish weeks they're saying he should come back. He'll be back in time for Washington, San Francisco. That's a division matchup. Yeah. I mean, when he comes back, they have winnable games, but it's just the fact that they're going to be in it by that time because right now they're 2-4. I mean, they're going to have to at least win one of these games. Hopefully, I mean, you would think they'd beat Jacksonville, but like you said, you never know. I mean, sometimes they're able to come up with some things to throw some teams off, but then you got to go to Lambeau and play an undefeated Cardinals team if they are at this point, but I don't know if they will be then. But it's a challenge for them, and they got to play the Cardinals twice to finish out the year.
Yeah, yes, they do. And then, on the other side, the Saints have to go play the Buccaneers next week, so that should be a tough matchup. Maybe really show what Jameis Winston can do. I mean, against his old team, too, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Next week, that should be a good matchup. But enough of that. There are no more Saints, no more Hawks here. Let's go on to this matchup. What a great game this was. Patriots versus Jets, okay, man.
For the Patriots, it was great.
It was a good game for the Patriots, man. Mac Jones, I mean, I saw some clips on, social media, Instagram, stuff like that, YouTube. I mean, they're comparing him to Brady. The guy looks like Brady when he throws. I mean, that's cool. You talk about that. I don't think you want to jump to that I mean, the guy's a rookie. He's got to climb the ladder a little bit more.
Well, here's my thing with that.
Comparing him with Brady.
Yeah. But, you can make comparisons to him, but, like, he's his own individual.
He's his own individual. I definitely agree with that. And, this own individual put up 307 yards passing, 24 of 36 to 2 touchdowns. That's awesome. They even threw Brian Hoyer in there for some passes. I mean,
heck yeah, it was a blowout. You got to get him some time.
Yeah, you got to get him some time too. He's always been a quality backup. Even I think he was a backup for Pittsburgh for a little bit, briefly. And then, of course, he was with the Browns and, stuff like that. But mostly Brady's backup in New England. But, I mean, on the passing game here, I mean, you can't get it quite better than that. They got to keep playing like that. Mac Jones got to stay in sync. And then, on the rushing yards, Damian Harris, 14 carries, 100 yards, 106 yards rushing. I mean, that's pretty fascinating as well. Damian Harris, not like when you think of running backs, you don't think of Damian Harris. You think of, Zeke and, Alvin Kamara and others.
Yeah.
But Damian Harris is a productive back, you can say. He'll go on there and he'll give you good games here and there. He's good. He's good to rely on. I really believe that, Mike.
I mean, Matt, looking at this game, like you're going over the stats, I'm looking at it too. It's hard when a team wins 54-13 to find something wrong. I mean, they won by 41? But yeah, out of Mac Jones, you got to like what he's been doing so far. I mean, Sunday 24-36 for 307. I mean, take it. You could say whoever they're going against, it doesn't matter. It's still hard to do in the NFL. And he had 2 touchdowns, and he even was in the rushing game. He had 3 carries for 19. It's hard to find anything wrong with this. And even the passing game, you even had Kendrick Bourne throw a pass too for 25 yards.
I saw that.
But you look at the receiving game. Look how balanced it is. I mean, again, when you score 54 points, you tend to give it around to everybody. But, I mean, Kendrick Bourne had some receptions. Jonnu Smith, who I liked this pickup in the offseason, he had a big game in that game. Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers. I mean, N'Keal Harry. I mean, they were pretty balanced in this game. And like the Patriots, I was kind of thinking this, Matt, and we were talking, looking over this game to talk about. They're kind of like the Patriots are kind of like the Lions this year. I mean, they have more wins than the Lions, but they're in every game. They've been in every game they've been in, but it's just a matter of pulling it out. And they were able to put this one away with no contest. So it's a good win for the Patriots. And they're 3-4. They're hanging in. They're hanging themselves in.
Now let's jump on the Jets side here. I mean, Zach Wilson goes down. They put in Mike White, 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions though. And they just traded for Joe Flacco to bring Joe Flacco back and play for the Jets. I mean, as kind of like an emergency quarterback. And do you like that move, or should they have tried to go get Cam Newton?
I mean, you can argue Cam Newton's probably a better option, and I think we all know that.
And you go and get Joe Flacco from the Eagles.
I mean, on Joe Flacco's side, he's happy. He still wants to play, and he wasn't playing in Philly, and this is his second stint in New York, so he's still getting a chance to play. But I mean, it's a desperation move. You have your guy go down. I mean, like you said, Mike White didn't play terrible. 202 yards passing, but they're probably leaning for more experience because his team stinks, and on their offensive side, their offensive side stinks too. Obviously, they're not good. But so they're
They
probably
don't,
looking for a
yeah.
veteran guy like that. So that's my idea behind the trade.
Yeah, but if we don't have anything more about this game, I mean, it was a horrible game. I mean, you look at the Jets going forward here. I mean, they're 1-5 right now, and I think you look at this season like, hey, maybe we just start tanking again, maybe get a good draft pick, and then we'll see what happens. We'll go with that because I mean their schedule is not looking good. You got to go next week against the Bengals, and the Bengals are looking good.
Yeah,
They're top of the AFC North right now. They just beat. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but they're looking good. Then you got to go play the Colts and then the Bills. Okay,
it's a
that's
tough
not
one.
looking very pretty. No, Colts are forming too.
The Colts are
So
starting to wake up a little bit. So,
yeah, a little bit. So
but you flip over to the
uh,
Patriots side, Matt. They got the Chargers next week at the Chargers, so that's
yeah,
a tough one. That'll be a good game though. And the rest of their
that will
games are
be a
kind of
good
toss
game.
ups. They got a mixture of bad teams and some good teams. I mean, they play the Patriots or the Panthers after that. They got the Browns after that. Then the
Yeah.
Falcons. The Falcons are starting to wake up a little bit, but I don't know how often that'll last. But then they have to host Tennessee, then the Bills. I mean, they got a lot of tough games coming up too. But they also have a mixture of some bad games in there that they can win, like this one. I mean, very rarely do you see a game like this in the NFL. 54-13, that's like a college score.
Yeah, I mean it's bad. I think the only guy that can save the Jets right now, I mean, it's got to be Flash Gordon. They got to get Flash Gordon in there. He'll play good.
I mean, yeah, they got to
yeah,
get something.
yeah. Oh, you
They could throw you out
gotta
there,
get
Matt. You got the
something.
costume.
Flash, huh? Yeah, I
They could
know.
throw you out. You got
That's
the
a
costume.
surprise. yeah, we'll have a little Halloween show this Friday. That should be exciting. But Mike, you got to find a costume here.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Matt's
You're
got a lot
working
of
on something.
costumes.
All right,
Matt's
all
got a
right.
lot of costumes, so we'll just see what he shows up with. I know what he's showing up with,
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
not going to say.
Well, all right. We're gonna move on here. We're gonna move on to the next game here.
Yep.
This one should be a quick one as well. Well, I mean, not really, but I mean, Bengals, Ravens. Bengals picking up the win here. I mean, Joe Burrow looked pretty good, right, Mike?
Really good.
Mike,
Really
why don't you
good.
give me a little bit here? He's
I mean,
looking.
yeah. Look
He's
at his
looking like
numbers here.
that
23 to
guy from
38.
LSU.
Yeah, the guy from. I mean, he had some big guy. He had some guys break away for some yardage, but still, I mean, 23 to 38, 40, 416 through the air, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. You'll take, but I mean, the rushing game. Joe Mixon's. He's a solid back that we always talk about. He had 12 carries for 59 yards. And look, they're receiving, Matt. This is why they won the game. Jamar Chase, 8 receptions for 201 yards. Like I just mentioned, they had some guys break away for touchdowns, and he was one that, it looked like he was wrapped up, and he was able to break away for like 50 yards for a touchdown. So that's the reason why they got 41 points. And T. Higgins stepped up. I mean, Tyler Boyd, he's been solid for a long time. I don't think we talk about him enough. But in this game, he had four receptions for 36 yards. But you'll take that for how balanced this passing attack was. And you got to love what you're seeing from Joe Burrow and this Bengals team, Matt.
I mean, Joe Burrow, he looks great. I mean, I like this. I mean, I like this guy, and with the Bengals, and Jamar Chase, like you just said, looking pretty good as well. I mean, they're looking good. Joe Mixon too. They got a great team. I like the players they have on the team, and I like their coaching too. Zach Wilson.
All right, so I guess I'm by myself here. Matt, I think we lost Matt. But yeah, like Matt was, I touched on, like Matt was just talking about their offense side. But I'm gonna flip over to the defense here with the Bengals. They stepped up. I mean, with the Ravens, you talk about their offense all the time with Lamar Jackson and the weapons they have on the outside. Lamar Jackson's finally starting to find ways to pass the ball this year. So give credit to the Bengals defense for finding ways to step it up here. I think we're getting Matt back here. 1 second.
Keep going. Oh, I'm back.
You there?
Yep, I'm here.
I was
I'm
going
so
for a little
sorry
bit,
about
but
that.
I saw you coming back. So
All right, I heard it. All right. So,
but yeah, Matt, when you faded out there, I was when I was waiting for you to come back. I flipped it over to the Bengals side of the defense. I mean, like I was saying,
I heard you.
With Lamar Jackson's, we talk about their offense all the time, and the Bengals stepped up not only on offense but on defense. They got stops.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, I want to apologize. I'm kind of in the boondocks a little bit. I'm down in dead zone America here, and I've been trying to work with my connection issues. So, Mike, if I cut out again, just keep on going.
Your picture looks good now, so you sound better too.
Okay. Well, hopefully it doesn't cut out again.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, let's get back into it. We're wasting time. But the Bengals, yeah, their defense, looking pretty good as well. I mean, holding the Ravens, a team that is known to score quite a bit, right, Mike? To just 17 points.
I mean, yeah, right. Look at what they did against the Chargers last week. They put up 34 on the Chargers, and that was a game we all thought was going to be a good one, and it was pretty much a blowout. So
yeah,
I mean, you definitely got to give the Bengals defense credit.
They got to Lamar Jackson. They sacked him 5 times. I mean, whew. And, Lamar Jackson, 257 yards throwing. Still not too bad, but from what we've seen, I mean, he's been hitting 400 passing, and he still kind of got it down on the run game a little bit. 12 carries, almost 100 yards, 88 yards. So but that's the thing there. You can't rely on Lamar Jackson all the time. You got to find other keys, to win this game. You got to get guys, like, Brown going, I mean, he had 5 receptions, 80 yards. I mean, that's pretty good. And then you had Bateman, 3 receptions, 80 yards. But I think, the mistakes are shown a little bit. I think the defense, I think the Ravens defense kind of got worn down a little bit. I mean, their offense still looked pretty good. But I think that, the Bengals defense looked better, and then the Ravens defense wasn't what they've been all year. Usually they're a tough and, just cruel defense, and they didn't look like that at all this game. So
with like you said, with the Ravens defense, I mean, it was pretty surprising to see them give them a 41. I mean, they're one of the stronger defenses in the league. They throw a lot at you. So credit the Bengals for dealing with it. But like you said, with Lamar Jackson, I mean, 15 of 31 for 257 and a touchdown through the air. That's we'll take that from him for as much as we've got on him about passing it. But you look at the rushing part here of the game. I mean, Devontae Freeman had 4 carries for 14 yards, and he had a touchdown at least. But you got to get more yardage out of that. I mean, other than Lamar Jackson, they had, about not even 30 yards out of everybody else. Yeah. So, I mean, that's I know they got injuries in the running back department, but if they want to win a game like this and keep pace with the Bengals, because they're trailing the Bengals now in the division. So if they want to keep pace and take the lead back, they got to get more out of the running game, because that's the strength of this team, Matt, is the running. I mean, Lamar Jackson's shown that he has the ability to pass this year, but that's the strength of this team is running. We all know that.
Yeah, and before we move on here, anything else you want to say, about these teams? I mean, the Ravens, currently still in that race for the AFC North. You got Pittsburgh and Cleveland lurking right behind them. So, I mean, what's your keys here? What are they gotta do?
I mean, they got the Browns. They got the Browns twice to finish. Yeah. The rest of the year they got to play them twice. The next matchup with the Bengals is December 26th, right after Christmas, in Cincinnati. So that'll be a good one to return the favor if they want to win that one in Cincinnati, like the Bengals won in Baltimore. And they got the Spurs twice also. So they got a lot of division games coming up. To finish out the year. They have who do they have next? They have the Vikings next. They have the Dolphins next. and the Bears next. So those are games they could win and are capable of winning. Then they get in division
Yes,
play. They have the
absolutely.
Browns, then the Steelers, then the Browns again, and then like I said, the other 2 games to finish out the year. So they have a big schedule coming up, and
Yeah.
I mean, let's see what the Bengals have coming up here. They have where are they at? So they have the Jets coming up next. So that's like you said, that should be a winnable game.
Should be.
Then they get to host the Browns after that. Then they have the Raiders,
then the Raiders,
Steelers,
and Steelers,
and Chargers. So they got some tough ones coming up.
They do.
And I think
they do.
I think the question of this game was going in was, if the Bengals win, which they did, and then after the game, are they for real? I mean, I believe they're for real, but let's see it keep going here. Let's see, you got tougher games coming up. Let's see because if you do it consistently, Matt, that's what separates you from doing it once to getting consistent and looking at you like you are really legit.
Yes, well, absolutely. So we're gonna move on here. We're gonna go. This should be a quick game here to talk about. We're gonna steam through these next couple games.
Pretty crappy game too.
Yeah. Green Bay Packers versus the Washington football team. 24-10 Packers. I mean, let's talk about the losing team first before we get to the Packers, because they know they did their job. Rodgers still looks good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this here. Taylor Heineke, 25 of 37, 268 yards, 1 touchdown, but 1 interception as well. Not a bad performance. Almost 300 yards passing. You got Antonio Gibson, 14 carries and 51 yards on the ground as well. But Mike, what are you taking from this? What do they have to do to kind of turn this around? 2-5. It's not terrible, but it's not right where you want to be. So
yeah, I mean they were trailing this one. I think it might have been tied, or maybe it was 14-7 when Taylor Heineke had that one where he should have been in the end zone, but he slid for whatever reason. He thought maybe he was going to get hit or wasn't going to make it, and that's what cost him, because in the next play they didn't get in the end zone, so they came away with no points in that trip to the red zone to come out of the second half. I don't, with this Redskins team, I mean, receiving, they weren't terrible. I mean, you look at Heineke's stats, 23 of 37 for 268, like you said, and a touchdown, but he had 1 interception, which you'll live with. I mean, you don't want to turn it over, but it's only 1. And, McLaurin had 7 yards for 122. That's their go-to guy. I mean, he stepped up for them in this game. Obviously, it wasn't enough, but yeah.
Yeah, but, the football team, Washington football team, they won the division last year, but it was a bad division. I think they finished 7-9, something like that. I forget what it was exactly, but I just think I still believe Taylor Heineke is the kind of the right fit, and you have Terry McLaurin and Gibson as well, but I think the defense. I think you need to pick up the defense a little bit more. And I mean, you have great guys: Chase Young, Montez Sweat. These are guys to lead your defense. But I don't know. You might want to look on the coaching side a little bit on the defense there, because I mean, we've talked about this before. Ron Rivera's. I think he's a good head coach, but maybe it's the coaches around him. Defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. Maybe it's time to clean house and get more coaching. Because, I mean, you have the guys to do it. Maybe add another, electric receiver in the draft, because if the season keeps going like it is, you're going to have a high draft pick. So I think you maybe add another electric receiver or maybe a cornerback too, add some speed on the defensive side too. But, their schedule going forward, I mean, they have the Cowboys in their division. That's first. And next week they got to play they have to play the Broncos, and the Broncos are kind of one of those teams too. But then they got to go play the Buccaneers and the Panthers, and then the Seahawks, and then the Raiders. And so those are winnable games. Especially with the Seahawks, like we just talked about. No Russell, but if there's nothing else here, I mean, let's go on the Green Bay side here a little bit,
Yeah, go ahead.
Aaron Rodgers, 27 of 35, 274 yards, still looking good. 3 touchdown passes. Aaron Jones, 6 carries, 19 yards. So, I mean, Aaron Rodgers even took off for rushing. 2 carries, 17 yards. So, I mean, you don't see that too often. But, Mike, what do you got here? What's your takes from this game?
Obviously, I mean, maybe you can argue maybe they could score more, the Packers. I mean, for their offense the way it is, and going up against the Washington defense, like you said, they're struggling. I mean, 24 points is okay to give up. I mean, it's not terrible, but for how much we talk about Washington's defense coming into the year, that should be better than what it is. It should. I mean, not just this game, but over every game they played so far. But
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. I mean, 27 to 35, 274, 3 touchdowns through the air. I mean, those are all their touchdowns through the air. He accounted for them, and then they had the field goal.
They had 3 receivers that had 60 yards or higher. Of course, Devontae Adams, 6 receptions, 76 yards, and then you had Tunyon, 4 receptions, 63 yards, and then Lazard with 5 receptions and 60 yards. So that's right where you're at with your receiving. You also throw Randall Cobb in there, 3 receptions, 22 yards. But I think Randall Cobb has good chemistry with Rodgers. They played with each other for a long time, even though Cobb wasn't there. I think he was in Dallas, so wasn't he, for a little bit?
Dallas, and I think he went to somewhere else, and then he went back to Green Bay.
Went back to Green Bay with Rodgers, but they're looking good. They got the defense or the offense is, right where you kind of want it to be. You have it. These receivers, besides Adams, they're not big name guys, and they're still producing, and I really like that about this Packers team. Rodgers is making these guys. He's not making them look better. They're out there, catching the ball as well. But I think they look with Rodgers and the addition of these receivers. I think it's making him, look younger. You can even say that.
Yeah. So, Aaron Rodgers, he's kind of getting like Tom Brady. He gets better with age.
He does.
But you gotta talk about the defense too. You could say whatever you want about Washington's offense, but they only gave up 10 points. They had the additions of Jalen Smith, and they had some other guys they picked up. And like I said on last week's show, Aaron Rodgers said this the week before. This feels a lot like that 2010-2011 team when we won the Super Bowl. That our defense is like top 5, top 10, and that's what it was that year when they won it. So it's good that the last couple of years, that's probably why they haven't been making runs to the Super Bowl, is because they don't have the defense to lock people down, and offensively they've been fine the last few years. But you see what Aaron Rodgers does when he has good defense. That's all he needs, and all he needs is a couple guys on offense. And it's Aaron Rodgers. He's been doing it forever, and he's, like I said, he's not showing anything of slowing down. He's getting like Tom Brady.
Yeah, like Tom Brady. All right, we're gonna move on from this game, Mike. We're about half an hour into the show here, so Let's move on to this game here. Falcons versus Dolphins. 2 bad teams. Falcons are kind of turning around. They're 3-3 now, and Dolphins, of course, 1-6 now. Falcons winning 30-28. I think Falcons, Matt Ryan kind of forming back together, looking like the old Matt Ryan from like a couple seasons ago, a little bit. 25 of 40, 336 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Then Cordarrelle Patterson, this guy, looking pretty good. 14 carries, 60 yards, and you have Big Mike Davis, 4 carries, 10 yards. That guy looks like the Terminator.
He does.
He's a big dude. He's huge, and he can trap some people. Oh yeah. But
who else is a big boy too, Matt? Kyle Pitts.
Who? Kyle Pitts.
This guy is a matchup.
The guy hasn't dropped a pass. He hasn't dropped a pass.
You're right.
All year.
He's a matchup nightmare for any team going up against him. You can't. This is why they drafted him, and you can't prepare for wherever they throw him, because they could put him anywhere.
Yeah. But
7 receptions for 136, average of 23 yards per catch. So, and look like I said with some of these other teams that we talked about that won on Sunday, they spread it around too. You had guys getting 4 receptions. Calvin Ridley had 4 for 26.
I like Calvin Ridley in this offense.
He's their go-to receiver.
You lose Julio Jones, and everybody's like, oh man, they're gonna look horrible and stuff. You added Kyle Pitts in the draft, and they started off bad. They started 0-3, didn't they, or something like that? 1-3. They didn't look very good. Now they're back at 500, 3-3, and they're moving. They're looking not too bad. Those first couple games they looked horrible. So hopefully we see good things from them, and in the future. I mean, this team has been through a lot. They were up 28-3 in that Super Bowl. I mean, we've talked about this hundreds of times, but they've been trying to get back to that spot for years now, and they haven't gotten quite there. And they're trying to make Matt Ryan the guy. They're trying to get one with him, and they seem to be falling short. Would you think they have a shot, maybe playoffs this year? Maybe.
We'll see, Matt, because
we'll see.
Like you said, they started out 0-2, and then they picked up their first win in Week 3 against the Giants. Then they lose to Washington. Then they picked up the last 2 against the Jets and the Dolphins. Game they should win if they want to be able to make runs. And they play the Panthers this week. That's, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure by how much, but I believe it's a slight margin. I think they're favored in that game.
I think they're favored by 2.5.
Yeah, I knew it was
2.5 in that game. Panthers are falling apart. They started off 3-0. They are now 3-4. So I mean, that they benched Sam Darnold. They put P.J. Walker in. We'll talk more about that.
Yeah, and then like to look past that, they have the Saints. They have to go to New Orleans, and then it's go to Dallas. I mean, Dallas is a different team last year when they played them, but that's early in the year. That's a game they almost won last year.
Yeah,
if they knew how to recover onside kicks. But anyway, then they got
Mac Jones and the Patriots.
I mean, and then Jacksonville. That's a game they should win. They have to play Tampa Bay again. We'll see if they can, if they want to get in the playoffs and take on a division opponent, they're gonna have to win a game like that, which is tough. But you got to do it if you want to be considered a good team.
Yeah, so, I mean, they have some winnable games coming ahead. Now, let's jump on the Miami side here. Tua time back. Almost 300 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, but, 2 interceptions, and that kind of kills it right there. It shows 2 picks, and it's like, man, And
it's unfortunate, Matt, because you look at the Dolphins are 1-6. You would have thought this game would be the other way around. You would have thought the Falcons would be 1-6 and the Dolphins would be 3-3. But like you said, their injuries, they haven't really the last few weeks that Tua has been back. They haven't really gotten anything going. Now you hear the trade rumors of Deshaun Watson. There's a lot of rumors and stuff flying around that franchise. So they haven't really been able to get past it, and you got to be able to get past things like that.
Yep, absolutely. And I think I just made a mistake.
What's that?
I think I was looking at the wrong stats here. I don't even think Matt Ryan played in this game because I'm looking at the stats on ESPN and it's saying Felipe Franks.
No, I got it because
you got it.
Yeah, October 24th, and right here on Google, okay. Matt Ryan, he was 25 of 40 for 336.
Okay.
Yeah, you were right. You were right.
All right, maybe ESPN got it screwed up then. But
we're better than ESPN.
Yeah, we're better than ESPN. That's why we're going places.
All right, you got anything else on this game, or you want to move on to another?
Not really. Myles Gaskin. Real quick on Myles Gaskin, 15 carries, 67 yards. I think he's a productive back. I don't know if I think they need to add somebody else in there with him, for rushing. I really do. And, receiving game, I mean, you got Mike Gesicki, who had a great game, 85 yards. Then, Jalen Waddle right behind him with 83 yards, both 7 receptions. So the receiving game's looking all right. And, they almost won this game. They were only 2 points away. Gesicki had that touchdown. But I think you got to get a better – I think you got to add to the rushing game a little bit more.
Matt, like you're saying, they won this. They were 2 points away from winning it. They're tying this game and a field goal away from winning it because Tua was 32 of 40 for 291 yards, and he threw all 4 of the touchdowns. They didn't get any touchdowns on the ground. And, like you said with Myles Gaskins, you'd like to see him get more than 67 yards off 15 carries. And, I mean, they got to get more behind him, too. I mean, Sullivan Ahmed, he had 7 carries for 26. I mean, you need more than that from a guy. Because, I mean, one guy can't do it all in the rushing department, and you had Tua stepping up with 4 carries. So, it's not the receiving aspect that's costing them some games. They got to be able to run the ball, like you said.
Yes. All right, we're going to move on to this next game. It should be a speedy game here. Rams taking on the Lions. Rams 28-19. Kind of close, but Rams pull away in the end. They're now 6-1, and the Lions are 0-7. I think. Touch base real quick. Jared Goff, versus Matthew Stafford. They basically just, they swap teams. So Stafford against the Lions, and then Goff against the Rams. But that was one of the big storyline. But now, I think we got to talk about this. Do you think that the Lions could be one of those teams that, lose every game this year? Because, 0-7. I mean, I know they've lost some nail biters, they've lost some close games, but just luck does not seem to be in their corner right now.
I mean, you're right, Matt. I mean, it's definitely a question when you start at 0-7. People start talking about, hey, are they going to finish winless? I don't think they will because, like you said, they've been in some of these games. Eventually, if they stay in these games, eventually they're going to break through and win one. And, you look at this game, Matt, Dan Campbell threw everything at the Rams. So he's definitely trying to win in any way possible. And like I said, one of these days it's going to come through. I mean, you look at their schedule too. I mean, obviously nothing.
Next week, they play the Eagles next week. That's a very winnable game right there. And I think that they could possibly beat the Eagles after that, but they got to play the Steelers and then Browns, Bears. That could be a winnable game, and then the Vikings, and then we won't list the whole schedule, but this couple of those games, just to give a little brief, they could beat the Eagles. Steelers might be. I mean, and it's a tough game with Pittsburgh, and then the Vikings are here and there. I mean, some weeks they look good, but some weeks they look like like they shouldn't be in the NFL. So
yeah, I mean, you talk about with the Steelers game too. I mean, that's a game the Steelers should win, but we often say with the Steelers they should win these games like this, but they don't sometimes. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying yesterday with Pitt football. In the college ball, they're kind of the same way. But I mean, there's definitely games they could win, but it's just a matter of doing it. And to answer your question, no, I don't think they're going to win or end winless. Like you said, they can potentially win this game this week. I mean, I was looking at score predictions for this week. People are picking the Eagles to win, but only by a couple points. So, again, if the Lions can stay in a close game like they have been for most of these games, you give yourself a chance to win. And they could potentially beat teams like the Broncos on their schedule, maybe the Falcons we have to see how they continue, but they look decent right now. And, they have the Seahawks coming up too, Matt. I mean, Russell will be back by then, but I don't know how they'll be playing and how they'll be in it in the standings.
Yeah, so we got that. Before we move on here real quick, the Lions, they don't really have the best receiving core. I think, they're going to have a good draft pick if, the way it looks right now. I think they need to get a speedy receiver in their core. I think they need to add speed. They need to get another Calvin Johnson-like player, But if there's nothing else, we kind of got a speed here. We had that little connection loss. We got to keep going here. Next game here, we got Eagles-Raiders. Raiders still looking good, 5-2 now, beating Eagles, 33-22. This is their second win in a row since the departure of John Gruden. Mike, what do you got?
They start out 3-0 with him, then they lose 2 while he's still there.
Yeah, and
they find a way to win 2 while he leaves. So they're a streaky team. They won 3, lose 2, win 2. In this game, as far as like with the Eagles, I don't know. They continue to not get a whole lot. They scored 22, but it's not. Their offense is probably the problem here, and the defense when you're going to have 33. But Jalen Hurts, 18 of 34 for 236, 2 touchdowns. I guess you'll take that. 2 touchdowns for the air for him.
Yeah, and he's looking great. Jalen Hurts, and I think you've seen him do a little bit better since the departure of John Gruden. We've talked about that last week. He's coming up a little bit more, 4 receptions, 24 yards. But the big guy, Hunter Renfrow almost had a 60-yard reception game, and then Foster Moreau 6 yards, 6 receptions for 60 yards, and then they have a couple, productive guys. Zay Jones. I think they need to get him more receptions. 1 reception, 43 yards. I think they need. 1 reception for 43 yards. I think you need to get him the ball a little bit more. Yeah, he has shown that he has speed. I've seen him. Yeah, he played for a couple other teams too, but we've seen how good he can be. And then running side, Kenyon Drake. This guy is kind of taking over the run game a little bit. Josh Jacobs, 6 carries, almost 30 yards. And then you add Kenyon Drake in there, 14 carries, 69 yards. It's good to split those guys in the backfield. I think Josh Jacobs is in a little bit of a funk right now. He just needs to get out. He'll be at that level that he was soon. But it's good to have a guy like Kenyon Drake to back that up. The one guy's not doing so well. Kind of like with the Cowboys. Zeke's not doing well, and then you got Tony Pollard that's just on his game. So I like what they can go with that. And then Eagles side, I've said this time and time again, I like their pieces. I like Jalen Hurts. I like Miles Sanders. I think they need to add another back. Kenneth Gainwell is all right, but I think they need to add another top back with Sanders.
Yeah, Matt, and with their rushing game, I think Miles Sanders is hurt after that game. I don't know how long he'll be out or what the injury is, but you have Boston Scott. He's been there for a couple years now. He's a solid second option.
Yeah.
And like you said, you have Kenneth Gainwell, but you need more. Sometimes Miles Sanders.
Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. And sometimes Miles Sanders, he doesn't, he isn't always what we expect him to be. But and then like you said, with their receiving, you have Dallas Goedert stepped up for three receptions for 7 yards. You might want to see more targets, but he has to step up because they just traded away their tight end.
Yeah. And Devontae Smith, looking pretty good as well. Jalen Reagor, 2 receptions, 25 yards. They were high on him. They drafted him in the first round, I think, not last year, but the year before that. I think they need to add another receiver in that group. They have the other guys they have. Kez Watkins, they've thrown it to Gainwell. I think they need to add another receiver there, a guy that they can just put up one-on-one, even maybe run them across the middle a couple of times. This, who's that guy for the Cardinals? They just drafted him. Kind of like a Rondale Moore with the Cardinals. They have a stacked receiver house, and then you have Rondale Moore, who's sneaky. They throw him in there a couple times. That's what the Eagles need. The Eagles need a receiver like that. But
they definitely need a guy like that. And like you said, I like their pieces too, but it's not resulting in wins, and I don't understand. I don't know what the problem is there. One day the offense struggles, and they didn't in this game, but the offense gives up 33 points.
Yeah.
So
all right.
No, go ahead, Matt.
We're going to move on here real quick. That was a good game. This one should be really easy. 31-5, Cardinals handily defeat the Texans. Good news for the Texans, though. Tyrod Taylor looks to be coming back, I think, this week. He's healthier, so that'll be good for them. Mike, Cardinals still look good. Texans still look bad. So what do you got here? Anything?
Not really. Cardinals improved to 7-0. They do what they're supposed to do is beat a team like this. And, they're going to keep rolling. Right now, they're 7-0, and they're probably the favorites right now, record-wise, at least in the NFC. So, no, not really anything on this game. When there's 31-5 blowout, there's not much to talk about.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move to the next game. This one should be quick, too. 38-3, Buccaneers over the Bears. Buccaneers could very well, they're like, hey, we're the defending champs. We're going to come out here. We're going to take you apart, Justin Fields. And that's what they did. They picked him off 3 times. So,
I think it's Justin a little Fields, too early.
Still rookie. Yeah, it is still early, and you're going up against, the Buccaneers. The Bears are 3-4. They're about 500. That's not too bad since, their offensive line is it's not
terrible.
Good, Mike. It's terrible. It's abysmal.
I feel bad because before this game really got bad, I was watching it, and, I feel bad for Justin Fields because he can't. He's getting hit every single play.
He is.
He doesn't have a chance to even get the ball off, and I feel bad for him. And I think it's too early for, people are starting to bring this up with Ohio State quarterbacks. It's too early to say he's just another typical one. Yeah. He didn't even start the year as a starter. He's played ever since the first game or two, and he's only been a full-time starter for the last 2-3 weeks. Yeah. So let's punt the brakes on that before he could end up being that, but it's too early to say that. This guy has talent. He's going to figure it out.
Yes. Oh, yeah, he'll figure it out. And, we'll jump on the Buccaneers side. They don't have Antonio Brown. That's not a problem for them. Hey, how about our guy here, Chris Godwin, leading receiver, 111 yards for 8 receptions. Then you got Mike Evans right behind him with 6 receptions for 76 yards. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's even you have Gronk and Antonio Brown out, and they still are able to spread the ball around.
They're still able to score.
They still have unbelievable options. With O.J. Howard just getting in there.
Yeah, didn't even go on the ground, too. Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones combining for over 100 yards rushing. So that's awesome. But we don't have anything else for that game. Let's move on here. Mike, we're in the final 10 minutes of the Casual Sports Podcast. I'm calling it the Mike and Matt edition. That's
one more football game to get to, and then we'll get to
one more football game, then we'll get to a couple other stuff. This one should be quick, too. Colts looking pretty good. Not looking good, but they're looking better. They improved to 3-4 with that win, beating the Niners 30-18. Carson Wentz, I've talked bad on him. This wasn't his best game. 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, 17 of 26. Jonathan Taylor, though, unbelievable. 18 carries, 100 yards. This is what you need to see. This is what you need to see from Jonathan Taylor. 1 touchdown. You had Wentz run for a touchdown as well. That's what you need to see from Jonathan Taylor. Absolutely.
Yeah. And my takeaway from this game on the Colts side is with Wentz, we talked about him, and I know you've been pretty critical of him, and we all have been, especially in Philly. But with him, I look at him and Jonathan Taylor in this game because we all watched this game. The weather was complete crap, and
yes, it was.
Both guys showed toughness. I like this game for the Colts. They get another game, they'll be over 500, but they get this game to put them at 3-4. It shows toughness for this game because they battled in it. They battled through the elements, and the 49ers weren't able to do that. So the Colts just were able to do a little bit more in this one.
Yeah, Michael Pittman Jr. also for the Colts, 4 receptions, 105 yards. That's awesome too. And
he stepped up.
He sure did. And before we move on to the out of the NFL, Jimmy Garoppolo, 181 yards passing, 2 interceptions. That's what really killed him right there. Deebo Samuel had 100 yards receiving, but that's the only guy that had above 40 yards, 30 yards.
Yeah.
If you go right behind him, Charlie Warner, 2 receptions for 30 yards. They gotta get their receivers going a little bit more. Even with the running backs too. I know you don't have Mostert, but you have to find other guys. You can't rely on Jimmy Garoppolo or or Deebo Samuel the whole game. You have to find other playmakers out there. But with saying that, let's move on here, Mike. Let's touch a little bit at NBA here real quickly. Big thing is, how about the Bulls? 4-0, first time since 96, 97?
Yeah,
and,
been a while.
They're looking good. That's been a while, and they have key players. Of course, the other Ball, Lonzo Ball. I like the way he's been playing. Of course, the other players. Mike, you watch more NBA. Why don't you talk a little bit more about this? Then we'll talk the Cavs. And then we'll move on here. We'll talk a little World Series.
I've mainly been just watching the Cavs so far to start out because, basketball's still early. And like you said, we still have other sports going on. But, look at the Bulls. They're we had a lot of them coming out of the offseason. Like, they had a bunch of pickups in the offseason. You get DeMar DeRozan and guys like that. So that's a big reason why they're 4-0. You like the Hornets, what they're doing. They were playing a team last year. It looks like they're stronger. They're getting stronger than they were last year. And then, the meat of it, you got Miami still playing good. The Bucks are up there at 3-1 defending champs. You go all the way down that. Nets are, the Cavs are right behind the Nets. They're both 2-2. The Nets, you're starting to throw the conversation around like, hey, do they need Kyrie? Kevin Durant came out and said, hey, yeah, of course we want Kyrie, but, we got to move on. He's not coming back right now. So,
they have to click together.
Yeah, it's still early, but,
it is. But
just taking a look at it.
Good start for the Bulls. Hopefully they keep it up. I think I said I called them a dark horse. If I'm not, I'm calling them now. They're definitely a dark horse to kind of sneak into the playoffs. Upset some teams.
I don't know if they're going to sneak in, Matt. I think they're going to be right there.
They might be right there. You could say sneak in because what they've
been.
Almost, where have they been? Yeah. And then let's talk the Cavs here real quick. We got to talk the Cavs, right? Yeah.
Of course.
2-2. Markkanen just postering Jokic, the last year's MVP. I was going crazy. I just turned the game on for a little bit, and that's the play I saw. I'm like, oh, man. First he stole it from him. Then he went down court and posted him. So that's boom and boom right on Jokic. He's just taking it to him. They're starting off good, but they started off good last year too. So the thing is they have to stay consistent. I like Ricky Rubio. I like his passing ability. I like their chemistry there with Rubio and the other guys, and I think they bring in Rubio to maybe teach Garland how to pass a little bit more. And I don't think Sexton's the main guard. I think they're gonna get him as a shooter a little bit more. Spot up 3-pointer shooter. I think that's where they're gonna work him into the mix too, because he's not your genuine point guard. Point guards pass. They go in. They shoot threes. We've seen from Irving, but they flotate the ball around to the
like
other
what Garland
playmakers. Yes. I think Garland focuses too much on his personal play a little bit too much, and I think that's what's killed the Cavs in recent years. But
you bring up Sexton, Matt. I mean, he played 25 minutes last night. This isn't what we are accustomed to seeing with him in the stat line, but a solid performance. I mean, he had 14 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. You'd like to see, again, we like to see more assists out of him. But I guess the only thing you could wish was better last night was, I mean, Jetty Osman came off the bench 11 minutes, but he had no points. But he did have 2 rebounds and 1 assist, so he at least had some type of factor in his game. But obviously, you got to give the highlight of this game for the Cavs. Kevin Love off the bench had 22 points last night, Matt. 21 minutes, 22 points, 6 rebounds.
That's the role you want to see him in. We were talking about that.
And you know what? I know some people are saying, hey, for all the money you're paying him, he shouldn't be coming off the bench. But hey, you draft Mobley, number 3. He's going to start over Kevin Love. Yeah. And as long as Kevin Love's on this team, this is the best role for him. And like I told you and Alec last night when I was watching this game, this might be the best role for Kevin Love on this team. I don't know about if he gets traded to another team if he starts, but on this team, for them to win, for him to be successful too, and if he wants to move on and boost his numbers up, this is the best role for him. Yes, and it's the best role for a young team too. You got you have Kevin Love, Ricky Rubio, Jetty Osman, and at times, I mean, you'll switch Okoro and Markkanen coming off the bench, but that's a pretty good bench for a young team like this. You have veterans coming off the bench.
Yes. Well, final 4 minutes here. Let's talk World Series, Mike. First game tonight, 8 o'clock. You got Morton on the mound for the Braves against his former team, Houston. And then for Houston, you got Valdez on the mound. Mike, this should be a very interesting series. We talked World Series yesterday. Let's just touch base a little bit. I think this has to be Freddie Freeman's series. I think he has to own it and say, hey,
he's our guy.
I'm the leader of this team. I am the guy. I've been here for a long time. That I'm going to put it up. I'm going to put my best effort to get this team a championship. And it would be great to see Freeman get a championship. You know, probably arguably the best first baseman in baseball, if not the best. I mean, he's a fantastic player. You know, I was going off yesterday about that play he made in I think it was game 6. He did like a full split to pick off the ball from Austin Riley. The ball just bounced up, and he snagged that ball. It was amazing. And, he comes, I mean, besides his defensive skills, he comes and takes care of business on the plate, too. Hitting home runs, base hits, whatever he needs to do. Then you add him, and then you got a hot Eddie Rosario going off. Austin Riley has shown good things. This could be the series, but then, I mean, I talk about Boston, or I talk about Atlanta, the good things with them. Houston. As much as I do not like them, I mean, I didn't like them before the whole cheating scandal. I mean, they'd beat my teams. They'd come in and we'd be favored. Indians would be favored, and they'd just make them look horrible. And I didn't like Houston before that. And you add that whole scandal, and it's like, oh man, how could you? But they still prove that they can win. I don't even think they needed to do that.
They didn't. That was the big thing with them.
We've talked about that plenty of times before, but I just wanted to touch base real quick. They have hitters. Michael Brantley has done good. Of course, Jordan, what's his name? Jordan Alvarez.
Jordan Alvarez, yeah.
Yeah, he's been great. And then, of course, your leader.
I mean, Matt, this game, like I said, I picked the Astros to win the series, but my heart and half of my brain says I want, to go with the Astros, but the other half says, hey, I'm going to be safe and go with the Astros because they're on paper the better team, better coach team.
You have Jose Altuve.
But you know what? In this matchup tonight, with this pitching matchup, I like the Braves to win Game 1 tonight with Charlie Morton.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Morton on the mound. This should be a good game. But if we don't have anything else here, I'm Matt. That's Mike. This is the edition of the Mike and Matt version of the Casual Sports Podcast.
And tomorrow it'll be Alec.
Everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.